guys, welcome back to my channel. So it is my due date today. There's no baby, my patience is running out. I'm really cranky. To be honest with you, I didn't even really feel like filming much today or like doing my makeup, but I just received the Pat McGrath Bronze Seduction palette, which is what I'm wearing on my eyes today, and I think you're going to probably see my first impressions before this video. I'm not sure, let's see which one I managed to edit and upload first. Either way, that's coming, so if you're interested in seeing this look and hearing my thoughts on this palette, then please stay tuned. I still have a couple of swatches here on my hand from the Bronze Seduction palette that I just don't have the heart to wipe off yet, so they're just going to stay there for the rest of this video, the way it is. Anyway, you don't really care about my baby that doesn't want to leave my uterus, so instead of that we're going to do a little fun tag video that I've seen floating around the last couple of weeks. What I'm going to do, as you already guessed from the title, is the Unpopular Opinions in Makeup tag. I'm going to leave the original creators of this video and link their videos in the description box below for you. And I'm probably going to add like 1 or 2 additional questions because there are a couple of things on my mind that I feel like I want to vent about with you that might be a little bit of unpopular opinions, and I would like to get your input on. So the first question in this tag video is popular makeup product you don't like. There are a number of popular makeup products that I don't like, but one that comes to my mind and one that's very iconic in the makeup world is the Beauty Blender. So the Beauty Blender just doesn't do it for me. I did buy one a couple of years ago just because I wanted to see the difference between the super popular, famous and seemingly irreplaceable for a lot of people Beauty Blender compared to my Real Technique sponge. I even did a video comparing the two, and after owning that Beauty Blender for 6 months, I came to the conclusion that the only difference between that sponge and my Real Technique sponge is that the Beauty Blender has a slightly squishier texture to it and it tends to live a little bit longer. Like I had it for I think 4 to 6 months or something, whereas a Real Technique sponge tends to last me 2 to 3 months tops. Other than that, in terms of application, I actually prefer the Real Technique sponge because the Real Technique sponge has this flat surface here, and I feel like that's much easier to apply and blend out your foundation, whereas the Beauty Blender has like this rounded shape here of the butt, and I always felt like that's a very awkward shape to apply your foundation. I didn't feel like it was blending my foundation fast enough, well enough, smooth enough. I just feel like it was a waste of money and time, so I don't like the Beauty Blender. I've never repurchased another one, nor do I plan to. Question number 2. Popular makeup product or brand that everyone else seems to hate but you love. There is no brand that everyone seems to hate and I love that I can think of off the top of my head. I can think of one product that I don't hear many people talking about, or when I hear them talking about it, it's mostly negative, and I rarely ever come across YouTube channels that are as praising and as in love with this product as I am. Just let me grab her. So this, my dear friends, is the Moondust palette from Urban Decay, which comes with 8 eyeshadows in their Moondust formula, so the super glittery, chunky formula. I adore this eyeshadow palette, and unfortunately I very often have to hear negative things about it, which really hurts my little makeup heart. I understand that a lot of people are just not fond of glittery formulas and it just doesn't work for them, but I feel like also for a lot of people, and I don't want to sound offensive, but I think if we're going to talk about unpopular opinions, I'm on my channel, I'm allowed to say whatever the fuck I want. I feel like a lot of people just don't know how to work with this formula, and that's why they get frustrated and quit on this palette, because they expect that it will work like any other eyeshadow. But this is not like any other eyeshadow. These things are very like chunky and glittery, and over a standard eyeshadow primer just with like a brush, they're not going to apply very well, they're not going to perform very well, they're going to drip glitter all over your face, and I understand that that can be frustrating. But if you're willing to learn how to work with these eyeshadows because they're such a different formula, I think you can get the best out of them without having any of these issues. I apply this always over the glitter glue. I use my fingers if I want to have them like full-on impact. Never had any issues, never have had any issues with these eyeshadows when I apply them this way, which is why this is probably one of my most favorite products from Urban Decay, and one that I feel like is very hugely underrated on YouTube. Trying to keep it short and sweet here. Makeup collab you didn't like or were not interested in. Can I be totally honest with you? I don't care for any collabs. The last collab that I was interested in, and I bought a lot of products from that collaboration, and I actually really enjoyed it and I thought it made sense and it was really cool, was the Urban Decay and Gwen Stefani collab. I did buy a couple of the Basquiat lipsticks as well, but that's more because I thought the art was very beautiful and it gave me the opportunity to find out who Jean-Michel Basquiat is. But that being said, I did not know who he was before Urban Decay, so that collaboration was not something I was like super excited about. The last collaboration that I was really excited about was from like 3 years ago when Urban Decay collaborated with Gwen Stefani. I thought that was incredibly cool, just, you know, to have an artist of her scope collaborate with such an iconic brand. I grew up in the 90s, Don't Speak, No Doubt, absolute classics for my high school career. To this day, one of my favorite Urban Decay lipsticks is from the collaboration with Gwen Stefani. It's the shade Wonderland. So yeah, that was the last time I was excited about the collaboration between a makeup brand and anybody else. I don't care one bit for collaborations with makeup influencers because, yeah, I don't know. I would only buy a collaboration between an influencer and a brand if I thought the product spoke to me. I would never buy it just to support the beauty influencer. First of all, because most of these influencers are pretty big names and I'm just putting more money in their pockets, so they really don't need my support. Second of all, because I don't fall for that kind of mentality for supporting influencers. I don't really have much with collaborations, especially between beauty influencers and beauty makeup brands, so if they come out with something that I find particularly interesting for my collection, I'd buy it regardless of who it is, but I would never buy it just because of that particular person. I don't know. Question number 4. Popular makeup step that you never do. Whew, there's a whole bunch of them. I don't apply exuberant amounts of concealer under my eyes. I don't put powder under my eyes because that ages me instantly. I don't do things like contouring. I do apply bronzer a little bit in the shape of my like contour, but I never use contour powders because they look dreadful on me. They just always make me feel like I put dirt on my face. So I think maybe the setting of under eye concealer would be the most popular step that I absolutely never do. Question number 5. Popular beauty influencer you don't subscribe to or watch. This is Hot Shady Tito, lol. This is going to be a very boring answer on my side because I think pretty much everyone that I watched do this tag answered in the exact same way. I don't really subscribe to any of the bigger beauty influencers anymore. At one time or another I've been subscribed to Jacqueline, to Manny, never to Laura Lee because she annoys the fuck out of me. Tati maybe I'm still subscribed to, although I never watched her. Kathleen Lights I'm subscribed to. I haven't watched a video of hers in at least half a year. I used to be subscribed to a bunch of these people. I unsubscribed because at some point they became unrelatable to me. They were talking about products that I was not interested in. They started sounding like infomercials. Yes, Nikki Tutorials, I'm talking about you. I will occasionally watch their videos if there's something interesting in particular that I talk about. For instance, every now and then YouTube will suggest like a Nikki Tutorials video for me where she invites like a very famous person on her channel, and one of her latest videos was with the, not one of her latest videos, but like one of those videos I'm referring to is, for instance, the video where she had invited the makeup creative director and makeup artist of Rihanna. So the woman who basically is the one among the creative directors of Fenty Beauty, and I thought that video was really cool, so I watched that, but I don't subscribe to Nikki. So I feel like I'm giving a pretty standard boring answer here, but I don't watch any of the bigger YouTubers. My favorite YouTubers are in the mid-tier or like very small microscopic tier range, just because I feel like these people are more relatable to me, they're more down to earth, they're much more interested in the type of makeup that I'm interested in. So those big beauty influencers that only talk about whatever they received in PR just don't interest me anymore. Question number 6. Popular makeup product brand that you don't use or support anymore. If you've been on my channel for a couple of months, you will immediately know the answer to this question. I do not support Kat Von D anymore, or as I like to call her, Kat Von That to me. So I consider myself a very tolerant person. I think my tolerance levels for like bullshit going around the beauty community is pretty high, and I don't normally concern myself with beauty drama. It irritates me, I avoid it, I just don't care. However, when it comes to the Kat Von D situation, I just could not remain silent because it frustrated me on such a personal level. A lot of you guys know that I do biomedical sciences as a job, so you know I am deep into the science. So when someone spreads wildly pseudoscientific facts and shares them with millions of people, I just cannot support them. Because, you know, the way I see it, a lot of these other YouTubers that stir the pot and cause drama, they do it for, you know, publicity. Because there's no such thing as bad publicity, we all know that. It's very cliche, but it's very true. But when it comes to Kat, the shit she's pulling off is actually dangerous for our society. Because someone who is as popular, as influential as her, goes out and tells millions of people that it's okay not to vaccinate your children, and that is dangerous. That sets us back several centuries. That means that in the 21st century we have to talk about outbreaks of diseases like measles. I beg your pardon? Measles in the 21st century? What? No. No. So even though my tolerance levels for bullshit on the internet and bullshit in the beauty community are pretty high, Kat and I just, no. So I do not support Kat Von D Beauty anymore. I am unable to separate her from the brand. I realize that there are so many more people that are involved in the brand, and she's not the only person that works there. But I'm sorry, the brand is not called anything else. It's called Kat Von D. She's the creative mind behind it. Her art is on everything. Every time I see something that she has made, I have to be reminded of her stupid stance in life, and it irritates me so hard that I'm even having trouble using my own Kat Von D products that I used to love. Okay, let's move on, because otherwise I'll continue rambling about this situation for another 150 years. Question number 7. Makeup trend that you have no interest in trying. Cut creases. Yeah, that's immediately the first answer that comes to my mind. For some reason I like my looks to be blended, I like my looks to be smoked out. I don't like cut creases. I've tried them several times. I've tried the half cut crease, I've tried like cutting the crease, you know, just on my lid. I've tried doing more dramatic looks, Instagram style. I think the last time I tried something like this was a couple of years ago, and I just don't like it. It looks great on a photo, especially when you over facetune and over edit and, you know, you Photoshop it to oblivion. And it's great because it gets reposted by the bigger brands, but I have no interest in it. I don't think it looks good in real life, and I'm someone who literally applies their makeup to go out and about with it. I go to my job with it, I go out with my friends, and I just don't think cut crease, an extremely dramatic cut crease, looks good in real life. I'm sorry. No interest. Alright, question number 8, which is also the last question within the tag itself. Make a product that was better in theory than when you used it. Either swatched better or worked better on others than on you. I have 2 products here that come to mind. The first one is the matte trans lipsticks from Pat McGrath Labs, because most people around me seem to get along with that formula just fine. I mean, it's a drying lipstick, everyone appreciates that, so it dries your lips a bit more. But I seem to be having a particularly hard time with that, because most matte lipsticks will start drying my lips out after like 4 or 5 hours. This one literally within the hour looks horrible on me. It like cracks, it settles into my fine lines, it starts to like peel and look incredibly dry, and it's just not flattering. I did find out a solution for that. I bought the MAC Prep and Prime lip primer, and when I apply that, it seems to extend the time that this lipstick looks good on me. So yes, I had to invest additional money into making this lipstick work, which is already far more than I should have been doing for a lipstick that costs $38. But I love the lipstick. I really would like to use it. So for me it was like, okay, you know, maybe this lipstick primer will work with a lot of other things. Why not try it with the matte trans? And another product that I feel like seems to work better for other people, or at least other people seem to enjoy more, are RVZ Art eyeshadows. And I'm not talking about their matte formula, I'm sure their matte formula is just fine. I'm talking about their shimmer formula. Their shimmer formula just does nothing for me. And I've gathered from people's opinions that some people really prefer their shimmery eyeshadows to be a little more subdued. This is a pro makeup company, so they're a bit more oriented towards makeup artists and people who do, you know, makeup for like events and TV, where you really don't want super shiny eyeshadows. Totally understand all of that, but this just doesn't work for me. I would never buy another RVZ Art eyeshadow palette, especially if it contains shimmery eyeshadows, because those do nothing for me. They like even swatch better on my hand than they apply on my eye. I feel like they have so little impact that they're just not worth the price for me. Alright, and now I would like to throw in some additional questions here that I would like to, you know, talk, rant, vent about. The first one being latest Instagram trends that you're tired of seeing. I've spoken about over-editing of images on Instagram before, so I'm not even going to touch upon that. It's something that bothers me on the highest level you can imagine, because I just think it's super fake. I really prefer to see more realistic images of makeup and not something that is completely out of touch with real life. So, but anyway, I'm not going to talk about that because I've talked about that before. I can link my video about over-editing of images on Instagram in the description box below if you're curious to see that. But I've been noticing this new trend on Instagram lately that really grinds my gears. And I'm sure that a lot of people are going to be butthurt about it because a lot of people seem to enjoy these. And those are the Stencil swatches. I'm sorry, I don't like them. I really, really, really dislike those Stencil swatches with a passion. First of all, I do not need swatches to look like unicorns, rainbows, caterpillars, hearts. You name it, they've invented a stencil for it. It distracts, it just does not do anything for me. Just give me a good old, you know, swipe on your hand, that's enough. And second of all, I started noticing it a couple of months ago that sometimes those swatches would look so fake to the point where I would question whether they just didn't Photoshop the colors over someone's hand and like try to sell those as swatches. I've seen those. They do not convince me to buy a product. They do the exact opposite. Like, I get very, very like suspicious of a product when I see swatches like this, and I just don't get them. What these stencil swatches essentially are, they're a very neat way to swatch eyeshadows, sure, but they're also a very cheaty way of doing eyeshadow swatches, because you can pack and pack the color as much as you want, to the point where it literally looks like what you see in the pan in the actual eyeshadow palette. In which case, I'd rather just look at the eyeshadow palette itself. You know, I don't need you to achieve the exact same color on your hand. I can just look at pretty flat lays of the eyeshadow palette itself to get an idea of the color. I just really want to get more of an idea of how the eyeshadow maybe feels, the texture, how it applies, and swatches will always be imperfect as far as I'm concerned, because the only way to really assess how an eyeshadow will perform is when you apply it on your eyes, because let's be real, I don't know about you, but I don't really apply any eyeshadow like this. So even swatches like this with a brush tell me absolutely nothing. Also because different formulas and different finishes require different ways of application. I don't know, I've never been a huge fan of swatches, which is why I hardly ever do them on my channel. But you know, they give you at least some sort of an idea of the texture and the performance of the eyeshadow. That being said, those stencil swatches are completely obsolete in my opinion. And I've heard from people who either enjoy doing those swatches or looking at them, that the reason they like them is because they're very pleasing to the eye, they're like very aesthetically beautiful, and they're just, you know, pretty to look at. And I don't know how to respond to that. Cake fondant is also pretty to look at, but I'm never going to eat that shit because it tastes like bitter almond and diabetes. It basically disguises mediocre cakes. You know what I'm talking about? Like those really pretty, colorful cake fondants that you can decorate cakes with, you can make them look really pretty. Yes, they look really pretty, but they taste like shit most of the time. Like, the actual cake is incredibly mediocre, not to say below mediocre. I don't get the stencil swatches, I can live without them. I'd rather that Instagram trend died. Another question that I would like to add here that's probably going to provoke some unpopular vibes is, what kind of videos are you tired of? And this is actually a type of video that I started off very enthusiastically about, and I was really enjoying it when I first started watching it. It's the Will I Buy It? New releases going on the wishlist, that kind of thing series. At first I was really enthusiastic about it, and I used to watch like a lot of people who do that. At this point I watch like 1 or 2 people who do it, because the only component of it that I still enjoy is that it's a bit like a news section, like a makeup news section for me, just in case I missed it on Trend Mood. But I've come to the realization that the Will I Buy It series is basically an anti-haul disguising as a new and original idea. But essentially, the way I have come to experience it the last few months is it's just an anti-haul for the most part. I only ever enjoyed anti-hauls when Kimberly Clark was doing them, because when Kimberly introduced anti-hauls, they served the twofold purpose. First of all, it was an incredibly clever way to introduce an anti-consumerism thread into a world that was obsessed with consumerism, because we all just buy. So when Kimberly introduced this whole concept, it was just very clever, and it was also mixed in with a lot of satire. It was hyperbolical, a little bit exaggerated, it was done in a really funny way. So essentially it boiled down to delivering a very clever message through the means of humor. So that's what I really enjoyed about Kimberly Clark's anti-haul series, and that's why I really liked it. And then other people started doing it, and it honestly doesn't come out the same way. I'm sorry. Most people who do anti-hauls sound like they're just trash talking brands, and they're just going off on rants about stuff, and I don't enjoy it at the same level that I did Kimberly Clark's videos. So given the fact that most people are not going to buy everything that is being released, if you think about it, the Will I Buy It series is a little bit like an anti-haul with 2 or 3 things among there that you're potentially going to actually buy and pick up. No? Alright you guys, I think with this I'm just going to wrap up this rambling on unpopular opinions in the makeup community. If you're a content creator and you would really like to do this video, please go ahead and do it. I'm sure that the original creators will be very happy if more people do their tag. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy my content, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!